quarterback is the headliner, but the interior of the offensive line is the biggest issue on this team right now. First day there, what you see? How dire is this?
All right, I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet because it's only one day. But from the way everything is sounding like from last week, without pads, it's a problem. It's a problem. I can't cut it short. It's definitely a problem, especially considering you have a month and a half tops left before the season opener comes, and you essentially only have 1 month of training camp to get done, a few preseason games and a joint practice sessions where, time's of the essence. There's time, but then there's not. It's like you have some time. You have to figure it out what the right formula is. You can't be wasting, these precious reps on players who you don't think is going to get that actual solidification over time through the season. Because so far, what I saw today was someone asked me, what do you thought of Lance? I think my cousin, how did Lance look today? I don't know. I couldn't tell what he was in the offense. He was just, I know how he fares when he's off script, which was cool. He took off on the play when the receiver wasn't open, which was smart, scrambled out there, but he got sacked multiple times. It's just when they let the players hey, just let the play run out. But he definitely got sacked at least 3 to 4 times, which was atrocious. And by any standards, the 49ers should accept. Eventually they got to figure out a way to get those guys in the group because so far Michael Glinchey coming off the torn quad looks fine out there to me. And I feel like I'm a critic of his. He looks fine. It's really those 2 guard positions, center, where these guys are getting beat, whether it's pass rush, first step. Where it's speed rush, power rush, or that quick first steps. It's just really weird. I understand you get some bad reps, but 99% of them were kind of pretty bad.
I'm not sure they have any starters in the interior. They got Brunskill. Here's the thing. So they got
center because he's playing center. He's right guard.
Center, to me, they can't play Brunskill at center. They want to play Brunskill at center, but his snaps are an adventure. They're turnover waiting to happen. You can't have that. He's a decent starting guard. I don't think he's an acceptable center. So to me, their centers on this team are Jake Brendel and Donovan West. And Jake Brendel is not a starting center. He's 30. He would have shown that by now. He's a backup center. So really, they're in a spot where they need undrafted free agent rookie Donovan West to take this job, or they need to get someone else on this team. And I don't understand what they're taking, what they're waiting so long for. They signed a nose tackle today. How about a center?
And I think if it was just one guard, or even two guards that were okay, there's a question mark. But the fact that it's literally a string of just 3 in a row, especially center, and we've seen when they don't have just sufficient center performance, just a guy who actually has a semblance of knowing what they're doing and playing decent, that whole thing collapses badly. And I saw it today, the way every Trey Lance drop back, 2 seconds in, the guy's just having pressure. And it's how can the guy even see who he's trying to look at when he's having helmets just bang into his shoulders and whatnot, literally within a yard of him? Yeah. It's not really giving him a chance. And that's where it's it's great. You're giving him these reps of looking at how he would face a very powerful defense in terms of pressure in his face. Style coverage is great, but what are we going to do to actually get him to work within the pocket that Shanahan loves to preach about? There is no pocket because it's collapsed within seconds. And center and left guard and right guard, just having all 3. I'm getting flashbacks to when 2019, when they went on that Super Bowl run, where that was their real Achilles heel that eventually, just died on them. And so you don't want that to be a replication of this year. I don't know who you're going to sign. JC Treader. I get what they did about putting Brunskill at center because I don't think they trust a rookie. You'd rather have someone tenured there, like I told you earlier. But it's just one practice.
I'd rather have a rookie that was a first or a second round pick than Jake Brendel. Here's the thing: the Niners were very. I didn't like this during the off. They didn't really address needs. They addressed corner and special teams and acted like that. Those were the only needs. And then they didn't make a single trade in the draft. They just hung tight at every slot and took best player available, which is great. And Drake Jackson looks really good. He really does. He's slimmed down a little bit. He looks like he's going to be really good. You didn't have a need at defensive end. You did not have a need at defensive end. You could have traded up and taken a center. Cam Jurgens, the dude that went to Philly. Because the plan at center this year, there is no plan. The plan was call Alex Mack 50 times and just fill up his voicemail and beg him to not retire. And it didn't work. And now they're damn, I really thought that was going to work. I thought we could sort of pressure Alex Mack into playing, and it didn't work. And Kyle thought, so what are we gonna do? I don't know. We'll figure it out. We got time. We got another month. That's where they're at. We got a month.
Yeah, I think I'm going to push back on that draft sense because, first of all, formulating a trade, it takes two to tango. And the 49ers were pretty much at the bottom of the second round. And who the hell was going to trade? What are they going to do? You're going to trade all the way up, and then you're going to have to give up all those other assets from the back end, maybe even future assets. And that's probably at that point, is it worth it? I mean, ultimately, we're still going to give.
It's a trade-off. And it's hard to say you did the wrong thing if you took a best player available and it's a good pass rusher. But there's a consequence. You didn't address center, and you could have addressed. You could still do it now, but it's hard to add to a position of strength when you have Jake Brendel starting on your team. But Drake Jackson may just be a Hall of Famer, so who knows? Jake Brendel too.
I just think if there was a trade to make, I think I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that it would have been made on their end because they did it with Joe Staley and Trent Williams was right there. That was cool. I mean, they also had Tristan Wirfs.
That's just one suggestion. They had no plan at center. That's just one possible thing they could have done. Drafted one. They're like, nah. Or they could have signed one. They're like, nah. They could have traded for one. They're like, nah, we got Jake Brendel.
And he's not even getting run at center, starting center. That's the funny part. They hyped up Drake Brendel and said a rookie can do it, and both of those are untrue. I'm surprised Daniel Brunskill is getting run at center this early, and I guess that might have been the plan all along since he's already getting it. But I think 2020, I mean, I know it's 2 years ago, but 2020 showed enough of Brunskill is just not it at center. He's not even sufficient. Maybe moments of sufficiency, but we already saw a right guard. He's fine there. He's a fine right guard. And now instead of putting, two areas of question with center and left guard, now you're going to have 3 areas of question with left guard, center, and right guard with Brunskill. And as much as you think, in theory, Brunskill is a more tenured player and experience there, I don't think it's going to work. I mean, maybe Shanahan's hoping these next practices and preseason games will get him up to speed, but if that didn't happen 2 years ago, what's that going to happen now that he's invested so much time at guard?
Jim's Taco says, anyone stand out on D end opposite Bosa? How is Drake Jackson playing? Good. He's really good. At least I'd like to know what you think of him. In minicamp, I thought he looked a little overweight. That was a couple months ago. Now he's trying to show off. He's got the pants rolled up. He's got the shirt, the midriff showing. Now he doesn't have a six pack or anything, but he definitely is thinner than he was 2 months ago. And you can tell he's got really long arms. He can bend, and he's big. I mean, he's not a 255-pound outside linebacker. He's powerful. He's 265, and it seems like he's gonna keep improving his body and be better. Yeah. But I think he's really gifted.
And they got him to pretty much be the new D Ford, right? That's essentially. I think that's why you got the lightweight. You got he looks just core and built. He looks like he's going to be a speeding bullet if he gets it all together. But when he shoots out from the moment of a snap, that's how I feel like he's going to be.
He looks like he'll be a 3-down edge rusher too, not like just a rotational pass rusher.
But I think in this sense, this year he's probably going to be just stuck as that route, unless somehow he just blossoms into this goddamn beast of a guy.
That's true, because they still have Ebukam and Amenahu who can play that.
So they don't need him to be all that.
No,
just 2019 D4. Give us some good pass rush downs, and then we'll go from there.
But you were listening to Samson Ebukam talk about Drake Jackson today, and he was envious. He was like, "Man, he's like, I could have done that when I was younger. The way he bends, I can't really do that anymore. But when I was younger, I could do that. And if I didn't have to play freaking 3-4 outside linebacker for the Rams those first 4 years, I would have been he seemed a little envious. I wish I'd been here the whole time. But
because bend is natural, dude. That's not necessarily something you could teach a lot of times. A lot of players that talk about it.
He seems like he has that gymnastic flexibility. He can do backflips and stuff.
That's good.
Justin says Niners are worried about O-line, but have depth at running back. If a quarterback goes down, could you package Jimmy and Sermon for a long? Would anyone want that trade? That's a good question. Yeah, who wants Jimmy and Sermon? Yikes. Cleveland?
No one.
They already got rid of Treader. I mean, Treader's waiting for you. But I just feel like the Niners don't have much urgency. They made the playoffs last year. They're not on the hot seat. They're
Plus, no one really trades for running backs. You can just poke them. You could poach them off a free agent list or someone's practice squad. No one trades for running backs.
Johns says, how come no one, especially Mike and Colin, are talking about Kyler's? It was not even news with any of the national media outlets. Shake my head.
I seen that. That was hilarious. I was like,
I didn't see
that. Arm fatigue. Hey, he doesn't like to study.
I didn't see that. Kyler has arm fatigue.
They held him out of today's or yesterday's practice, and Cliff Kingsbury said, I don't know if he specifically said arm fatigue, but to give him a rest for his arm, which essentially, yeah, arm fatigue. They said it along those lines pretty much. And I was like, watch, this is not going to gain any traction at all. Meanwhile, you got Trey Lance who's going out there slinging it like 15 times a day, or not even 15 times in an hour.
Voice ad agency says, anybody else get that uneasy feeling that while head coach Kyle is on the field with the team, Jimmy Garoppolo is upstairs with Parag and John Lynch negotiating an extension? I don't think so.
That's quite the conspiracy.
I don't think so. We're going to talk about Jimmy next. Callie Tremor says, possible that the Niners waited until the first part of camp to pass to sign Debo. Why? I don't understand why they had to wait 4 days. Like, why did they miss the first? I mean,
well, didn't DK get signed like barely a week ago?
Yeah,
like last
and
Monday?
he couldn't get more than DK, so maybe I don't know.
I just think, well, he got more guarantees than all of them, like fully guaranteed.
It just seemed like there were like 4 or 5 wide receiver contracts that needed to happen, and for whatever reason, Debo was going to be the last one. Maybe it was the trickiest. I don't know, but he was the last one. I think that was the way it was going to go.
Could have been.
I don't know why though.
Remember, I showed you the little rushing yards incentive he has. So that's like a little sprinkle of add on. And I'm not really sure how complicated that would be to add on to it, but his definitely differs from others.
Steven says, how is Hyder looking? Look like 2020?
I didn't see him.
He's playing with the backups a lot. He looks like he's 31. He's one of these guys. He's always been one of these guys that wears a long sleeve shirt under his. I don't know, man. It just seems like they got a lot of edge rushers who were younger than him, and they're not super invested in him. I mean, who do they got? Bosa, Ebukam, Amenahu, Drake Jackson, Toure.
That enough alone.
I mean, Jordan Willis. Hyder, I don't know about that. We'll see if Hyder makes a team. I'm not so sure he will. There was one more. We should have drafted Sky Moore. Well, he's probably better than Danny Gray.